And welcome once again to Wayne's World. Glad you're with us today. I'm Wayne Dawson, and my next guest has a very impressive resume. She's a journalist who worked as a reporter for Cleveland's historic Call and Post newspaper and went on to create her very own marketing agency. She's also very involved with the Greater Cleveland chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rhonda Crowder. I wish I had an applause track or something so I could give you a proper introduction. Rhonda, first of all, thank you so much. I know you're busy because you are everywhere, but just want to thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here with this opportunity to speak with you.
Oh my goodness, well thank you. Hey, let me just start at the very, very top. You were elected the president of the Cleveland chapter of the NABJ just recently, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So,
For some reason, I'm thinking it's recent. But
this is my second term, so I was just reelected to a second term.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I can do two-year terms.
Okay.
Yes.
What does that mean to you, and what are your responsibilities?
Wow. Well, with the convention coming up, the responsibilities is much greater than it normally would be, in other times. But it's really, truly an honor to be, to represent all the wonderful journalists that we have in this community. I still pinch myself to make sure that it's real, how did I get here? I ask myself that. But as I'm going through the work, I realize that for such a time as this.
For such a time as this. You mentioned the convention. We'll talk about that later, but briefly tell us about the national convention that's coming to town.
So the National Association of Black Journalists will be hosting its annual convention and career fair here in Cleveland starting next Wednesday, August 6th through the 10th.
Okay.
It's a very exciting convention. I like to think about it as HBCU homecoming. That's the type of feel and vibe that you get in and around the convention.
50th?
It's NABJ's 50th anniversary.
Okay.
Later this year, December is the actual date that the organization was founded.
Okay.
But the 50th anniversary will be celebrated during this convention.
We're going to talk more about that in just a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about you. First of all, talk about your journey, where you came from and how you made it to where you are today.
Wow.
I know that's a long story, but
it's actually a book.
Oh, I know that's right.
It's actually a book, maybe even a couple of books. But I grew up here in Cleveland in the Huff community. My grandfather, like many, came to Cleveland in 1955, settled in the Huff community. That's where my parents met. So that's where I grew up. Probably the first 13 years of my life.
Was Fannie Lewis the
Lewis,
legendary Fannie
absolutely.
Lewis, the councilwoman?
I remember when she was first elected councilwoman to that ward, and when she said that there will be a new day in Huff, I remember those words coming out of her mouth.
And she did a lot for the Huff area.
She really did. And went to Cleveland Public Schools. I graduated from John Hay High School, and then I went on to Cuyahoga Community College and Cleveland State, where I earned a bachelor's degree in English.
In English, okay. Did you want to be a teacher or what?
I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write books, plays, and movies. I never really considered journalism until I was on the campus of Cleveland State and started writing for The Cauldron.
That's right, the student newspaper.
Cleveland State Cauldron, and that's when I got bit by the journalism bug.
Oh, yeah.
But I still was very tunnel vision that I wanted to write books, plays, and movies, and so until I needed a job.
There you go, come on.
And, was fortunate enough to get hired at the Call and Post newspaper 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago that I got hired at the Call and Post newspaper.
Who was the editor back then?
Connie Harper.
That's right.
Connie Harper hired me. Michael House was the president. John Lanier was still alive, but it was, towards the end of his.
Before Don King purchased it, right? Or was it?
No,
after?
this was Don King was the owner.
Okay,
Don King was the owner at the time, and so I started working there, and it just launched all that I am today.
Let's talk about the Call and Post for a second. Why is it still relevant today in your mind?
Because it's a way for us to preserve our history as African Americans, tell our story, to continue to tell our stories. You know, the Calling Post is, I believe, 109
think it is,
years
yeah.
old, founded by Garrett Morgan.
Garrett Morgan.
Just rich history and culture. And I just learned today that you wrote for the Calling Post. So many of the journalists in our community got their start at the Calling Post, whether
yeah.
it was an internship in
right.
college or first job right out of college. For me, I was kind of trying, you know, I was trying to find my way as a writer and just kind of ended up there. But it really, you know, helped me hone my skills as a writer and become the entrepreneur that I am.
When I read your bio and your track, kind of reminds me of mine because I, you know, graduated from Shaw, not a Cleveland public school, but you know, very close. And then my grades weren't that good, so I went to Tri-C, and then started working for the student newspaper there, and then the Calling Post, and then went to Kent State University. So it's interesting. So something good can come out of East Cleveland and the Cleveland Public Schools. Come on now.
And Huff.
And Huff, and East Cleveland,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Excellent. Well, talk, you know, it's amazing, and just reading your bio, you've done so much in such a short period of time. Just want to talk about Rhonda Crowder and Associates, your business. What's that all about?
I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It took me a little while to figure out what my business was. And I remember when I started at the Calling Post, because I was a little later in career.
Now, how
you
long
know,
did you work for the Calling Post?
I worked for the Calling Post for 11 years.
Oh, you were there for a long time.
I
Okay.
worked there for 11 years.
I remember your bylines.
Yes.
Yes, I'm thinking Rhonda Crowder. Okay, Calling Post, there you go.
But when I started there, I told myself that when I leave, I will work for myself.
Okay.
And I started my own business, you know, because while I was there, I was freelancing. I started doing the Who's Who in Black Cleveland.
Yeah, and now you started that at the Calling
publication.
Post.
I started that at the Calling Post.
Okay.
I started as a freelancer.
Okay. Okay.
I was writing the stories. Connie Harper, who was the associate publisher at the time, would assign stories for me. I would go out and write the stories. I would help her put the publication together. So when she decided to step down, I saw that opportunity to carry on the work that she started in the way that she started it. So that's how I was able to step into the role of associate publisher of Who's Who in Black Cleveland.
That's excellent,
But I started my business 14 years ago because I was just doing so much freelance work, and I needed for it to, you know, be contained in a business.
Talk about the Rhonda Crowder and Associates. What exactly do you do? What services do you offer?
So we're a creative services agency. We provide the support services that marketing, public relations, advertising companies, firms, that they would need. The writing, the design, the photography. A client can come to us, and instead of having to work with 3 or 4 or 5 different freelancers, we can pull that team together. And then that way they're working with one agency, right? But still getting all of the services
Now
that
you
they
do
need.
ghostwriting in this?
I've done some ghostwriting
Okay.
because, you know, it's interesting, the business has evolved.
Okay.
When I first started out, I was freelancing, you know, doing freelance writing. I was editing books and manuscripts for people. I started ghostwriting. So that was a lot of the services that was provided early on. But then as the client's needs evolved, the business evolved.
Now you have media services as well. Now what's that about?
We provide media relations services, so
Okay.
helping our clients understand how to make media buys,
Okay.
how to attract earned media, things like that. And that really just came about by me being in media and developing so many different relationships across the city with media.
Interesting. You said there's no such thing as bad media?
There's no such thing as
Why do you
bad
say
media.
that? What, you know.
You know, you're getting publicity. No, we don't want bad
That's
media, right?
Right.
But
You're still getting
know,
out there.
You're getting out there.
Yeah.
Some of the most, unfortunately, infamous people is as a result of bad media.
You also do branding.
Yes.
Now what's that about?
So That came about through a partnership with a creative director that was born and raised here in Cleveland, moved away to Los Angeles, worked for the Los Angeles Times, and then moved back.
Okay.
And when we met, we saw that we had similar complementary services.
Okay.
So we said, hey, let's work together. Because as a writer, my client's next natural need is design.
Okay.
Whether I'm helping them write copy for their website, or write a book. If you write a book, you need cover design, you need interior design, and it was just a great fit. And so then that's how we were able to start adding the design element to it.
What do you mean by branding, though? For instance, I mean, I should know this. You always hear the term, but what does, say, for instance, a person's brand? What is that? How do you establish?
So we're kind of like brand architects.
Okay.
We're helping them establish the brand, whether it's visual, right, with logos and color schemes and other elements that may be a part of their visual brand.
Okay.
I'm usually working on the messaging, the language.
Okay.
I call that the brand story, the brand narrative.
Okay.
The mission statement, the vision, the purpose, what are the taglines, how do we talk about our brand in a consistent way?
Now, how did you, being an English major at Cleveland State University, how did you get all of this information? How did you evolve into who you are today?
Being an English major.
Okay, okay.
I remember when I was transitioning from Cuyahoga Community College, and I considered John Carroll. But John Carroll, great school, but it was just a little bit too expensive for me. But during the admissions process, I was talking to an admissions counselor, and she began to explain to me all the different things that you can do with an English degree. And I was like, wow, I never really thought about it like that.
Okay.
She said that, you know, English majors are needed in business because most people in business don't really like to write. And so just being an English major has really always kept my mind open. Being an English major helps you develop analytical skills because you're doing a lot of reading and analyzing.
I never thought about that, you know.
Things like that.
Yeah,
and I always had an interest in advertising. When I was a little girl, I would just sit and watch TV.
What would you
and
say
commercials.
to people who are watching this, especially little girls, individuals who are growing up in the industry like you and I did? What would you tell them? What kind of motivation would you give them that they can achieve their dreams?
To hold on to their dreams, because a lot of times you will encounter people who will say, oh, you can't do that, or that's impossible, but to really hold firm to your dreams, no matter how unattainable or unachievable they may seem.
Excellent. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NABJ convention that's coming to town, the 50th, what is it, year?
It's the 50th anniversary of the organization.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Back to Wayne's World, I'm talking with Rhonda Crowder, her amazing story, humble beginnings, and she is now the president of the Cleveland chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. Rhonda, once again, thank you for being with me today. The convention's coming up, and it's huge. We're talking the 50th anniversary of this organization, and it's going to be here in Cleveland. How did we work that out?
It was 2019, and it's a bidding process. So, and it's a very competitive bidding process. Destination Cleveland wanted to bring more minority, focused meetings to Cleveland. And
they've done that with the Urban League.
The Urban League was just here. There's been a number of conventions here. And so they reached out to us and said, hey, we want to bring this convention here.
Wow.
Do we have the support of the local chapter? And we said, sure, absolutely. And so they put an amazing package together, went down to Miami, made the pitch, and then the committee comes and do a site visit. And when they got here, I remember going around and you constantly heard the words, wow, I didn't know Cleveland had this. I didn't know Cleveland had that. And, between our beautiful city that most people don't, realize all of the gems that we have and the package that Destination Cleveland put together, we won the bid.
That is excellent. My goodness
We
gracious.
beat out, I know we beat out Philly.
Philadelphia?
We beat out Philadelphia.
How many people are we expecting for this convention?
We're expecting a few thousand black journalists to convene. Black journalists, black media professionals, media-related professionals, so people who are in PR, marketing, communications.
Why is this convention so important, especially to minority journalists, black journalists?
The convention itself is a great opportunity for journalists to network, to hone their skills, to learn how to become better journalists. But I think for our city, it's an opportunity to change perception.
What do you mean?
You know, we've known as what? The mistake on the leg. Cleveland has been the butt of so many jokes for so many years. But now we have all of these journalists
Coming to town.
who are coming to our
They can tell our
city
story.
and help tell our
I
story.
love that. I
Yes.
love that. You know, I've been to several of these conventions, and it's always a wonderful, empowering situation. And as a journalist, in the business for many years, you can still learn from
You can
these type
still
of
learn,
situations.
absolutely. One of the things that is, well, there's a career fair, of course. So journalists who are looking for their next job, it's an opportunity to get in front of media companies that are hiring. But then also, they have an innovation bubble to learn about the new technology and how to use
ever-changing
technology in our industry, right? Like that is major right there because again, it is ever-changing.
What about social media? I mean, to talk about the impact it's having on media as a whole.
It's changed. Well, I mean, we've seen the negative side of it is we've seen the loss of so many jobs,
that's
right?
true, that's
but
true.
then how do we adapt to that? How do we train the next generation of journalists, whatever race, to use social media in ways that help them advance their career? It changed the way we tell stories, the way remember news.
You don't want to know what was going on when I started. Typewriters and, and it was crazy.
News is up to the minute now.
Right,
How many times on a newscast do we hear a social media account being referenced?
That's true. That is so very. We do it. This is an app we're doing today. The Fox 8. It's called Fox 8 CLE Plus. It's an app which is online. So you're right. Things have changed so much. How do you think the change impacts African American journalists or black folk who want to get into journalism, or not only journalism, just the media in general?
Well, if we're not keeping up with the technology and the trends, then it's going to impact us by being left behind, or being out of work. And especially for those people who really had strong desire to be journalists, like to be working journalists. It's okay for me not to be a working journalist, although I still do a lot of freelance work because I just had the opportunity to establish myself. But if I would have came into this industry with the desire to be a journalist and only a journalist, then I could easily be out of work right now.
Right now, even when I started, we were unionized. You couldn't shoot. As a reporter, I couldn't edit. But now we have multimedia journalists. When you get hired, you have to be able to do everything. It seems, especially in the TV industry. Let's talk about some of the individuals who are here. We have students coming, or individuals looking for jobs.
We have students. We have journalists. Emerging, new in the career, less than 5 years in the career. We have working established journalists. We have retired journalists, people who have spent 30, 40 years in journalism and still comes to the convention to provide whatever kind of support, whether it's speaking on a panel or hosting a session or working with young people. So that is one of the things that I love about the convention, is to see the range of journalists from, again, those who are aspiring to be journalists to those who are on the other side of their career and finding new and innovative things to do.
It's a good place to make contacts, to get a job. I know there's a lot of news organizations are going to be represented as well, right? Including ours, Next Star.
Yes.
I think we're hosting something where we're going to be talking to young journalists and students as well about how to get in the business, how the business has changed as well. So that's a wonderful thing. You have all these big news corporations or media corporations that are represented. Is it difficult to get them here?
No, no. Every year there's, a number of stations that
They're
are
gonna come in.
on site, have exhibits. There are screen tests being done
Really?
on site, resume, on site interviewing and things like that. So it's a great opportunity if you are a journalist and looking for a job.
This is the place to
It
be.
is definitely the place to be.
I know years ago we hired, like when we went to many hours of news years ago, we first became Fox. We hired like 3 people, 3 reporters from the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. I think it was held in Chicago that year. So yeah, definitely a place to get hired. Let's talk about, you guys made national news last year with Donald Trump.
Yes.
He was the keynote speaker.
Yes.
That was interesting, right?
Yes,
You
it was.
have we gotten over that yet or what?
I think we've gotten over that. I was there, and when the news broke, it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe
Well, at least,
this.
like you said, there's no
Yes.
such thing as bad news. We just put NABJ on the
Well,
back.
there was so much talk about NABJ and what NABJ is and do, and I think for about 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
At least.
At least. So, who's the keynote this year, or is there one?
There's never really a keynote,
Okay.
so every election cycle,
You bring
the
in-
presumptive
Yeah.
candidates
Got it.
are invited.
Got it.
And he just so happened to accept the
Yeah, he
invite
did.
last year.
You also had the Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Yes.
And thank you so much for including me. I'm like, well, I'm from Cleveland. Why would they include me? But thank you so
Well,
much.
you have done the work. You have left a significant mark, in journalism, not only journalism in Cleveland, but in journalism across the country. So you will be inducted
You know what?
into
I've just
our
been
Hall of
blessed.
Fame.
I have been, just a blessing from the
Yes.
Lord, no doubt about that. I know how to keep my head down too. That's another thing you have to do. One other thing, just as we get ready to close, and you look back on your career, what are you most proud of?
I am most proud of being able to sustain as long as I have,
I know
and
that's
it
right.
is the grace of God.
It is.
I came into this industry 20 years ago. I knew virtually nothing about journalism because I was an English major. I didn't take any classes, and I never took a journalism class, but I adapted to it well, and I really took pride in being able to tell the stories of our community that don't always get told. And I think that that's what helped propel me as a journalist, because people was always so appreciative. Or, they would come and say, you were the first person to ever write a story about me. And I really enjoy being that reporter.
What's next for Rhonda Crowder?
To grow this business I want to grow the business in a way that is able to live on beyond me. And, the next generation can come along and have an opportunity to be creative.
You've done well.
Thank you.
I want to go back once again before we close to the NABJ. It starts what day and it ends what day, and anybody can come. Tell us about that.
Opening ceremony, opening day is next Wednesday, August 6th.
Okay, is that there's the opening ceremony you mentioned? or what?
Opening ceremony
Okay.
is that day, opening reception, and then our local chapter is having a welcome to Cleveland party at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Okay.
that evening.
Okay.
Convention goes through August 10th. You can be a non-journalist and attend the convention.
Okay.
So it is open.
Tickets still available?
Tickets are still available. I believe there's registration. You can register on site.
Okay, is there a website or something people can go to?
nabj.org.
Okay. Rhonda Crowder,
Thank you.
you're amazing.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for everything you do.
Thank you
Appreciate you.
for
that.
always being an inspiration.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
she told me that she made me feel old. She said, when I was in John Hay, you came to speak to us. I'm like, okay, how many years ago was that? Anyway, thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate you. And
welcome.
thank you for joining us this morning on Wayne's World. Remember, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, with God's help, it can achieve. See you next week.